Welcome to the Claim Your Day podcast. Here, it's all about taking full advantage of the time we have today and becoming intentional with our actions so we each can have the impact we want. If you want to stop drifting through life and start directing your life, and you're open to a short podcast from someone who's working at the exact same thing, then welcome. You're in the right place, my friend. Hi, I'm your host, Nick Mazey. To respect your time and so you can claim your day, let's dive right in. Hello, my friend, and welcome. Welcome to the Claim Your Day podcast. Glad you're here and joining in today. Last few episodes, we've been talking about how to make today count. That's what it's all about, making each one of our days count. This is episode 23 of the Claim Your Day podcast. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I got a question to ask you. Have you ever thought that the path to your goals was going to be smooth? Or maybe that it should be. Maybe you didn't think that it was actually going to go exactly according to plan, but maybe you thought that it should be a little bit smoother than it's going. But what if your resiliency, what if being resilient was actually your greatest asset? Think about that for a minute. I want you to think about Maria. Maria, she had a carefully planned out morning routine, and had everything accounted for, was going to get her right, physically, mentally, spiritually. She was going to start making progress toward what she needed to get done for the day, be fully prepared for what's going to happen. And her morning routine was spot on, and it was excellent. But then it got massively derailed by unexpected kid emergencies. Life and family life and, being a parent, hit her like a ton of bricks and got completely derailed off that morning routine. But you know what she did? She learned to adapt. She didn't give up. She was resilient. She adapted, made the adjustments, and got back after, making her day count. Do unexpected things happen? Do interruptions, completely throw your whole day off? Today, we're going to talk about developing a few strategies to navigate those daily obstacles. And so that way, when life happens, because it will, when life happens, you can be resilient. You can get back at it. You can get back up, dust yourself off, and you can maintain consistency and stay on track, even when you get knocked off a little bit. Kind of just the things I want you to think about today is that detours, obstacles, they're going to happen. Those challenges are going to happen, and you're going to get derailed a little bit. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. Now, I'm never going to be there's hopeless on this podcast. That's not what it's here for. This is not doom and gloom saying that detours are going to happen. But they are. They absolutely are, and that's okay. That's a part of life. There's going to be challenges, obstacles, roadblocks, and derailments. Nothing goes according to plan. I think it's a Navy quote or saying, and I've heard it from a few different places, but that no good plan makes it past breakfast. There's no perfect plan. There's no perfect plan. It's not going to go exactly according to plan. It's inevitable that the detours and obstacles are going to happen, but that's okay. That's okay. Once we own that's going to happen, we can just get back up and keep going. That's one thing I want you to think about today is that detours are going to happen. And then the next point I want you to really think about is that there's in the moment strategies that you can have. Just like a pause, a little miniature adjustment, and then you can just keep moving. Being fluid, when those detours happen, you got to be fluid and be willing to make that adjustment, and don't hold on to that plan as though it's concrete. I used to have this saying that was along the lines of, write your goals in pen, but your plan in pencil. Because that way you got to be willing to make that adjustment really quick. So those are two of the main things I want you to think about today. And the third one is give yourself a little bit of compassion, a little bit of self-love, a little bit of grace, a little bit of mercy. Be kind to yourself when you get off track, because you're going to. No one's perfect. We're not robots. That's okay. The detours are going to happen. You got to be willing to make that quick adjustment. And then when they do, give yourself a little bit of compassion. That way you can dust yourself off and get right back at it, because you are human, But the other side of that is that you are human, and so you have great capability in you to keep moving forward when you do get off track. One of the things that I think helps a whole lot with building that resiliency, with being able to bounce back, when you do get knocked down a little bit or you get off track, one of the massive things that's going to help you to do that is bringing it back to your values. Is bringing it back to your values. See, our values are the big things. Those are big overarching things that are guiding our lives. Those values are the things that are more important than anything that's going to get you off track. It really is. And a lot of times it's the things that gets you off track that aren't as big and important as those true values that you have. And so if if your day goes sideways, then bring it back to your values. And when you think of those values, see, perseverance, it's all about having that bigger thing. If you want to be able to persevere, if you want to be determined to live that best life, to pursue your goals, to do these things that are really important to you, then you've got to stay focused on the really big, more important things. Well, those are your values. Your values are the really big, more important things. So when you get knocked down, when your day goes sideways, or you realize that it's been 2 months since you've been to the gym and you've had this goal for your health, or you've been completely off track on how you want to be eating, you're feeling crummy, and you get really down on yourself by getting so far off track. All right, if that ever happens to you, first of all, you're not alone. Second of all, here's one thing you can do about it. Bring it back to your values that are more important. Because when you see, hey, that being healthy for your family is something that's really important to you, if that is one of your things that's really important to you, when you focus back on that, then that is more important. That is bigger than any of this talking down on yourself that could happen. And see, when you talk down on yourself, when you criticize yourself, when you don't have that self-compassion, that's what keeps you off track. It's fine to get off track. It's fine to get derailed because that's happened. Like I said earlier, it's going to happen. That's just a part of life. But it's what you do when you realize that you're off track that's the most important thing. And so if you bring it back to your values, then you realize, hey, taking care of yourself for your family so that you can be your best, that's more important than any of the negative things you might be saying to yourself because you got off track. That way you can bounce back and you can have that perseverance to keep pursuing those goals that are most important to you and your family and your life. So, what can you do to kind of address this, to maybe mitigate the impact of some of these obstacles and challenges that are just going to come your way on a daily basis? What's something that you can do? Well, one of the great things that you can do before it happens is to kind of identify what might happen. Now, none of us have a crystal ball. I know that. We can't see everything that's going to come up. That's why, there is no perfect plan that accounts for everything, and things are going to go sideways a little bit. You're going to get off track. But at the same time, you're sharp. You've lived life. You've maybe gotten down a few times, or gotten knocked down a few times. Maybe you've gotten off track a few times. It's easy to sit there and think back on what's gone on before, so that you can identify what might happen again in the future. So again, if you have a goal around eating healthy, well, here's a great example. It actually just happened just last week at my job. We had a celebration. It was a really cool event for people kind of giving into this foundation, and we were celebrating everyone that contributed. Well, part of that was we knew that there were going to be. I mean, it was obvious there was going to be some desserts, some sweets, some treats, and a whole lot of them at this event. And one of my colleagues, I'm so proud of her. She made a great choice to just say, I'm making some healthy choices right now, and some of them are around my diet, what I eat, and I know there's going to be a whole lot of sweet treats right there that I just need to stay away from. And so it's like she knew that this obstacle, this challenge was going to come if she went to that event. And she made just the big choice of saying, no, I'm not going to go. It was great. She did all the things to contribute and to help support it along the way. Major kudos to her and thanks. And she did all that, but then when it came down time to go to this, kind of celebration part of it, she knew she didn't need to make the choice to stay away from that obstacle that was going to come, that was going to come if she went there. And that was awesome. That was identifying a detour, identifying a challenge that might come up, and then taking steps to mitigate the impact of it, to say, hey, or not even to mitigate, to completely avoid that situation. And so that she didn't even have to address it. I mean, that was awesome. That was seeing what might come forward, seeing what might come up that would cause a challenge and to knock you off track, and to make that right call to not put herself in that situation. That was awesome. Maybe there's other challenges that could come your way if it was related to an exercise plan, and you got to go out of town for work. So what are you going to do to be able? You're not going to be around your gym. You're not going to be around your normal routine. Well, maybe before you leave, you could see if there's a park, a walking trail, or even just Googling, hey, what are some exercises that are simple, easy, and effective that I can do in a hotel room? Just find out some options before you get into that situation where you're probably going to get off track, but you can go ahead and come up with some ideas that might help you out through that. And that goes right into the second step is making a small plan. If you identify the challenges and obstacles that might send you off track and cause a detour for what's most important to you, then make a plan on how you're going to respond to that, how you're going to address that. This is so cool. When you make a plan, not only does it give you an idea for how to handle that situation best for yourself, which is kind of the clear benefit. It was like, oh, if you make a plan, then you already know what you can do. Great. But making a plan and actually walking through that in your mind, see, it's kind of like practice. If you're practicing basketball because you want to get better at it, or if you're practicing rollerblading, my girls like to rollerblade. And so if they're practicing, they're getting better at it physically. But when you make that plan and you walk through it in your mind for how you're going to handle an upcoming challenge or an obstacle, it strengthens that connection in your brain. So that way, when that challenge, that obstacle comes up, they already know, or you already know that, hey, you're a little bit better at it and you've already practiced it a few times. And so it makes it easier to make that tough choice in that moment. See, it's like my colleague that decided not to go to that one event because of all the things that were going to be there that she didn't want to take part in, for her health. It's like for that, she probably made that decision beforehand. She already had that plan knowing that obstacle was going to come up. So she already had that plan, and it made it easier for her, I imagine, to do that. Now, I didn't go ask her all these things, but making plans and walking through them in your brain and planning it out, that's something I learned a lot about in my own psychology training, because that is a great way to make better choices in the moment, is by planning it out and practicing it in your mind on how you're going to respond to that. So try that. If you think if your morning routine or your days just aren't going according to plan, then this might be a good route for you, is to explore what might come up and make a plan for how to address those. And while you're making that plan and while you're in that moment, bring it back to your values, because they're going to trump anything that comes your way. And remember, detours, obstacles, challenges, getting off track, getting knocked down, going sideways on your exact plan, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. That's just life. Have some in the moment, have a few strategies that you can make those adjustments. You have that little plan. And then when you do get off track and you get knocked down a little bit, things are sideways, you're not making that progress, whatever it is, you take a few steps back, don't worry about it. Give yourself a little bit of compassion. Dust yourself off, and then get right back at it. Obstacles, they're just a part of the journey. That's life. But it's your ability to be determined, resilient, persistent, and keep taking steps forward that's the ticket. No one's that overnight success where everything goes according to their plan. John Maxwell has a saying. He says, you're never going to ask someone that's really successful in a certain area, and you're going to say, hey, how did you get here? And they're going to be like, I don't know. I just woke up here one morning and everything was perfect. No, never. It doesn't happen. It does happen that people can be persistent, consistent, and keep going through the challenges that come their way. And by having some of these things planned out in advance, identifying the detours, making a plan, it's going to help you to achieve your goals, live your best life, to claim your day and to live out your values intentionally. I believe that will help you. Hope you enjoyed this episode. That's what we have for you today. You have the strength to do this. You do. Make a small plan for those detours that are going to come your way. And no matter what, no matter how you get knocked down, no matter how you get off track, it doesn't matter. Give yourself a little bit of compassion, get back up, and keep moving forward, my friend. You got this. And as always, I appreciate you listening and joining in. Make sure you check out the next episode. We got a few more in this Making Today Count series. And you can go to nickmazy.com. I got a great resource for you there about how to have your intentional day so that you can live out those values that you have for your life. Check it out. All right. Take care. Can't wait to talk to you again soon.